Sleep 2 Business Genius, Business History Fact number 13 of 107-minute read. The letter that moved money. Before wire transfers, before credit cards, before any electronic payment system, medieval merchants found a way to move wealth across a continent without touching a coin. They called it the Bill of Exchange, and it changed finance forever. By Sleep to Business Genius, Business History, Medieval Europe, 1200s–1400s. A bill of exchange with its wax seal, a written promise that transformed how wealth moved across medieval Europe, making safe long-distance trade possible for the first time. Breathe slowly. Let the world outside fall quiet. And imagine the problem. You are a merchant in Venice. You have sold a consignment of spices to a buyer in London. He owes you a substantial sum. But how does he pay you? Sending gold coin across medieval Europe is dangerous. Roads are plagued by thieves, ships founder, and the journey takes months. Carrying large amounts of metal is conspicuous and invites attack. For centuries, this problem had no good solution. Long-distance trade was limited by the physical difficulty of moving money. And then, sometime in the 13th century, in the trading cities of northern Italy, someone had an idea. What if the money did not have to move at all? The Bill of Exchange was an act of pure financial imagination, the realization that a promise, written on paper and backed by reputation, could do the work of gold, without any gold needing to travel anywhere. How it worked. Medieval Italy and Europe, 1200s, 1400s, the mechanics of medieval money transfer. The Bill of Exchange worked through a network of correspondent bankers. A merchant in Venice who was owed money in London would visit his local banker and receive a written document, the Bill of Exchange, ordering the banker's correspondent in London to pay a specified sum to the merchant or his agent on presentation of the bill. No coin needed to cross the Alps. The Venice banker would settle his debt with the London banker separately, through the accumulated flows of many such transactions over time, netting out payments owed in both directions. For individual merchants, the system was transformative. A bill of exchange was safer than coin, easier to carry, and could be endorsed over to a third party, functioning almost like a modern check. The system required trust, specifically, trust in the creditworthiness of the bankers at each end of the transaction. This trust was built through the great medieval trade fairs, especially Champagne, where bankers met regularly to settle accounts and assess each other's reliability. The Bill of Exchange was not just a financial instrument. It was a social technology, sustained by reputation and personal relationship. From bill to bond. The Bill of Exchange was the ancestor of a vast family of financial instruments: the promissory note, the banker's draft, the letter of credit, the bond, the modern check, and eventually the wire transfer. Each is a variation on the same insight, that a written promise backed by creditworthy institutions can function as money. Every time you pay by bank transfer today, you are using a system whose essential logic was worked out by medieval Italian merchants. The geography of trust. The spread of the Bill of Exchange mapped the expansion of European trade. By the 14th century, bills were routinely used between the major commercial centers of Italy, Flanders, France, England, and the Iberian Peninsula. The instrument worked across currency zones, across political borders, and across the gap between Christian and Jewish merchants, who used parallel but interconnected networks. What the Bill of Exchange created was, in effect, a financial network that overlaid the physical geography of Europe, a system of obligations and settlements that made it possible to do business across vast distances without the friction and danger of moving metal. It was the medieval world's version of the Internet, a communications infrastructure for commerce. And like the Internet, it did not just make existing things easier. It made new things possible. Ventures too large and too risky for a single merchant could now be funded by multiple investors across multiple cities. Trade routes too long for a single merchant to finance alone could be served by chains of correspondents extending credit to each other in sequence. A piece of paper. A signature. A promise. It was enough to move the wealth of the medieval world. Tags. Bill of Exchange, a medieval finance, a history of banking, letters of credit, medieval trade, business history, financial innovation, sleep learning, economic history. Sleep to Business Genius weaves 100 fascinating business history facts into soothing, story-driven narratives. This is fact number 13 of 100. Part of 100 Facts About Business to Fall Asleep To, available as a full narrated video on YouTube.